Welcome back to the show. This is episode 670 of the Dum Yinzers. I'd like to say this morning to everybody, welcome back. It's a sight for sore eyes around here. Everybody's sick. Finch and Derp, you're supposed to be here today. And last week when I woke up, I forget what day it was, like Tuesday, Wednesday. It sounds like the same exact thing I had. My throat felt like it was swelled shut and it was hurting to swallow, and I couldn't talk. I jumped on it immediately though. I started, just hurting from all kind of medicine in my face, and then I was able to. I think I got past it pretty fast. There's a hint of a sore throat going on back here, but I did. I jumped on it with cough drops and medicine and stuff. So hopefully the guys get better soon, because we're a sick bunch. It's we're all eating off the same spoon, or I don't know what's going on, but everybody is half the crew's out today.
That's what it feels like. It's like we all look like the same thing. Like where I work, like the one boss was sick. He kind of stayed away from the other two bosses, but now we both got it. Like, Finch sent a video chat to us in the group chat. I'm like, oh my God, that's how I sounded like 3 years ago. I lost my voice for like 2.5. But it had been 2 years ago. I lost my voice. It felt like for like 3 months on the show. And like, that's what he sounded like. So I empathize with that, and stuff's no fun, dude. Like we said, man, when you lose your voice, it's all downhill, man.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a little bit of a voice loss yourself there. Maybe
I'm getting there, man. I feel it coming
throat.
on. Yeah, I got a little tickle in my throat. Yeah. I got some Dayquil here that I'll be drinking throughout the show. I'll be looking like I have a problem, like I'm an addict.
I hesitate to say I got through it, because I know tomorrow, as soon as I wake up, it's going to be 10 times worse than it ever was.
Right?
If I do say that, it's gone.
Yeah. The minute you say, "Oh, I beat this thing," it knows. Your body knows. Your white blood cells like we're going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to let everyone in. We're going to let everyone score on us. We're not going to do a damn thing. Here you go.
And then you just change an Aunt Peaches joke to the Pittsburgh Steelers with that one. I think
I may have.
We used that joke about Aunt Peaches at the last meeting, I think.
I think I did.
But that's where we stand. It's a sick house.
It is, man.
Derpy's been sick for a week.
I know. We're dropping like flies around here at the studio.
But nonetheless, here we are, carrying the load in today. Guys, welcome. It is episode 670 of the Dum Yinzers. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I guess we're going to jump on the Steelers trading this morning, guys. Steelers back at it this coming weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. Everything besides the game that we just played against them says that, the Pittsburgh Steelers just may win this football game. But, after I saw what I saw 2 weeks ago against the Ravens, Mike, it's all but that to me. I think that this is going to be a very difficult game for the Steelers to win. I really do, unless they get it figured out between now and Saturday night. I don't know. Again, if they play that same game that we've seen last weekend, Mike, this could be a long Saturday evening for the Steelers. Realistically, the thing is, realistically, I think we can win. We could win this football game, but will we win this football game, Mike?
Probably not. Like I said yesterday, I'd give us like a 25% chance of winning. And I think that's fair, the way we're playing, the way that they are playing. Just the attitudes of the players on both teams. You can see Baltimore's calm, cool, relaxed, having fun. Pittsburgh, everyone's just like not, trying not to blame each other. So things aren't shaping up well for the Steelers, man. You got guys complaining that they had to have a padded practice before the Bengals game. Maybe if you knew, if you would execute well, the coaches wouldn't be putting you in pads. If you guys are focusing on the wrong things, man. Focus on the opponent.
Yeah, it's oh man, that game last week again. Like I said, I couldn't get Mike. I tried to get through it. I tried to go back and watch it because I want to be up on my details for the show. And I was halfway through this first quarter, and I thought, you know what, I got it. There's nothing else that I need to see here. I seen enough. But yeah, we got the Ravens this week. I'm trying to pull up a couple of things here. I do want to say, in the meantime, good morning to Phil the Steel. Yes, Phil says, guys, it's time for hot tea with lemon and honey. That seems to be something that could work for all the sore throats on the show.
A little bourbon.
little bourbon in there.
Yeah.
And also, good morning to Mark Malone. Mark Malone says it looks like there's a good portion of fans that are waking up to Tomlin's ineptitude. You know what? I think you're right. And I'm going to be honest, just with the way Steeler fans are and the way they are with people that they're not happy with in their sports team, they do jump on them pretty quick. And it's been, I don't want to say 50-50, but I'm starting to see more people jump on the, throw Tomlin under the bus kind of train. But, what do we think, guys? If we come out this week and beat the Ravens by, I don't know, 10 points, let's just say we win this football game, is Tomlin still on the hot seat because we got that playoff win? How flexible are we going to be with this Mike Tomlin situation, guys?
There's going to be a certain segment of the fan base that no matter what he does, will still, talk bad about him. So, and then there'll be others that were, no matter what he does, will always say, he's a great coach. And then there's going to be the in between that go, hey, you know what? Cool. We won one. Let's see if he can go out there and win two. If he doesn't, then we're going to raise hell. Others be like, you know what? Hey, he got off the schneid. They're going to go, we're going to play either Buffalo or KC. No one's beating those two. We go out and lose. Okay. Oh, well, now we got the stepping stone for next year. Like that's going to be the reaction across the board.
Finchie's at home in bed with the thermometer hanging out of his mouth, the basket beside the bed, the whole thing. Finchie says, unlike George Pickens, I actually caught something this weekend. I like that.
Snap.
Phil says, still time for a change. Guys, this is, you think to yourself, what is it going to be possible for the Steelers team to beat this Ravens team? And I think that it is. So let's take a quick look back through the season. Let's see how the Ravens fared, because they still did lose 6 games. Let's take a look and see how other teams fared against them compared to how we fared against them. They did play the Chiefs early. They took that loss the first game of the year, 27-20. Then they lost to the Raiders early. When we were able to beat the Raiders early, they lost to the Raiders 26-23. And then they beat the Cowboys 28-25, where we only lost by 2 points to the Cowboys. So, that kind of puts it in the same ballpark. The game that really scares me that the Ravens played this year was the 35-10 over Buffalo.
Yeah.
35-10 over Buffalo. Come on. So that's one of them. The Ravens also beat the Bengals in the same style that we did earlier in the year. They won 41-38 in a shootout. The Ravens beat the Commanders 30-23, which is what we beat the Commanders, I think, by a touchdown. The Ravens beat the Buccaneers 41-31. The game after that, the Ravens took an L to the Browns 29-24, which we took that weird L there at the Snow Globe. Then they beat the Broncos 41-10. We beat them earlier in the year, not quite as bad. Then the Ravens second time around, they got the Bengals. They beat them 35-31. We only lost by 2 points in the last game. So again, you're still within that couple point, after that, we played the Ravens, beat them 18-16. The Ravens then beat the Chargers 30-23 by a touchdown. We beat the Chargers earlier in the season roughly by about a touchdown. Then the Ravens lose to the Eagles 24-19. We took a bit more of a beating than that to the Eagles. However, we were on the road, and you know how that goes with the Eagles and the Steelers. And then they beat the Giants up 35-14, which we beat the Giants up pretty good earlier in the season. Then the Ravens beat us. Then they beat the Texans 31-2, and then the Browns 35-10 on their second time around. So the season's not that. I mean, come on, for one team that has a 2-time MVP in a top 2 rusher in the league this year, and a lot of other things going on over there. They did only finish 1 game better than we had. The only thing that scares me is I mentioned this yesterday, guys. We are playing our worst football at the worst possible time, where it seems like the Ravens, again, after beating the Steelers, don't get me wrong, after their Eagles lost, they won 4 straight to finish out the season. But after they beat the Steelers, they go 31-2 against Houston, and then they finish up the Browns 35-10. Total opposite end of the spectrum from where we are in that time period. So that's what scares me, the momentum, the mindset, the way the teams are playing, the way the teams are feeling. There was a lot of times during the Steeler game, I really felt, geez, these guys, they Mike, I felt that they hit a brick wall. Yeah. And what I mean by this was, do you remember the play? Let me think of who was on coverage. Corey Trice.
Yeah.
And the guy caught the ball in front of him. It was early in the game, and Corey, and the guy kind of almost, he could have not stepped out of bounds, but he did. And Corey Trice kind of fell forward, and he was like grabbing at the guy's ankle.
Yeah. Oh, he slipped out of his break to cover Chase. Yeah.
So, many times I found our guys on the ground or in situations where they were one step behind. Another situation throughout the game, there was something else right off the top of my head. I can't think of what it was. Oh, okay. When Pat Freiermuth caught the ball and he was just short, he kind of like started stumbling forward.
Yeah.
There was a lot of times it seemed like we had a hard time keeping our feet underneath of us, which is a sign of a team that's not really playing good, where their feet are under them, their shoulders are, so. Yeah. This is what scares me.
The little things that they were doing, the little things right, and the Steeler players weren't doing the little things right.
Yeah, like standing on their feet. That was the problem we were having troubles doing. But that's what concerns me, Mike. I don't think that this team is head and shoulders better than we are. Again, we beat them to 8 of the last 10 times. Again, and so our late season meltdown, we were 2 games ahead of this team with a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So again, and then the competition the whole way down the list was very similar to the way we played, the same exact schedule, basically. Yeah. The only thing, Mike, I see different in this is the confidence level of both teams. I see them being very confident, them coming out and if you're confident, you come in, you can impose your will, where we're going to be trying to find our feet and maybe playing catch up a little bit. That's what scares me, Mike, about this game. It's not anything, but besides where the mindset of these two teams are right now is what scares me about this football game.
Oh yeah, because you look after that 3-point loss to the Cowboys, the Steelers just went on a tear. They won 7 out of 8. The offense was clicking at a high pace, where it was one of the better offenses in the league. And then all of a sudden they come out against the Eagles and it was just flat. And then the next 3 games just flat. So like, this team has the talent, has, the capabilities to be one of the better teams in the league. We saw, I'm looking at these scores, man, 32 points, 37 points, 26, 28, 18 against the Ravens, 44 against the Bengals, 27 against the Browns. Again, they can do it. It's just simple execution that they are not doing. I don't know what it is after that Browns game, coming into that 4-game stretch. This team just literally cannot do the simple things right. And it's like, you just have to clean that shit up and then you can keep playing. But this team itself doesn't look like they want to keep playing.
That's the thing. That's the thing that hurts, because if it's something within the locker room, if it's a mindset thing, that's the hardest part. Because again, you have a good team. You got to this point. You made it to where you are. You were 10-3. You were in the lead in division. You did have a 2-game lead. You did have the tiebreaker. So Mike, is it boiling down to our what would be a good way to describe it? Our thrifty way of spending for offense? Is that ultimately what's going to burn this team?
Oh yeah.
Is we don't stack up to NFL teams because we basically have a JV offense who a lot of, come on, Mike, also tying off of that, the one thing that really irritates me as well is the one ball that we all wait to see. We all wait to see this rainbow ball, and he has about 3 of them a game. Yeah. And if that rainbow ball falls short those 3 times, the offense is flat for the day. It seems like you have to have that play every once in a while. That's another thing that concerns me about Russell Wilson. If he doesn't land that rainbow ball right in that right spot, right in the breadbasket, I just think it's going to be a long day for the Steelers offense. So, Mike, coming back to the original question, is it basically because we're spending pennies on a dollar for our offensive skill positions, where other players actually go out and spend money to build their offense?
That's where it is. You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. It's simple as that. The highest paid players on the team, let's go through the top 10: TJ Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Larry O, Cam Hayward, Isaac Seumalo, offensive player, the first one, a guard at number 5 overall, Alex Highsmith, Patrick Queen, Dante Jackson, number 10, Chris Boswell, or number 9, Chris Boswell, number 10, Landon Roberts. That's not conducive to a good offense. You have to keep going further down. Najee at 11, Pat Freiermuth entering this year at 14, Justin Fields coming in at 16, and Dan Moore at 15. That's not conducive. Where are the wide receivers? Or like your high paid quarterback. I'm going to take a look. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, number 1.
Is this wide receiver thing any surprise, Mike? Can anybody at this point in the season say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we missed the train on the wide receiver. This is why we're not going to win. We just we missed.
But no, I'm just like going in, like you know, like at least in Baltimore, you got Mark Andrews, number 5, and before he started off slow this year, but he's still a top 7, top 8 tight end in the league. And then you got Derrick Henry as their 10th highest paid player. So they have 3 not only high paid, but high skilled offensive players right there. They got some of the better offensive linemen in the league being paid right there. So they have weapons there, and they're paying for them. And Pittsburgh does not have that at all.
Let's jump on the board, Mike. I do want to get into what Jen said briefly. That's right. Mason McCormick did break his left hand yesterday in practice. At this point, I just say throw it in the pile and let's see what sticks here, because
Taylor Spencer Anderson, baby.
Yeah, I mean, we were already on the backup playing McCormick, and obviously he got thrown to the Wolves. He's going to be the starter moving forward. Yeah, he's going to be a part of a lot of big things moving forward, but and deservingly so, I think. But
I think so too, yeah.
With him breaking his hand, guys, that at this point there's no surprises for me. He did break his left hand in the Cincinnati game. Also, Dante Jackson comes out and says he feels good and he could return for this game. You know what? This is all hands on deck. If you can't make it, shame on you. If you can make it, because this is what it's all about. This game is done. It's one and done. We lose, we're going back home and thinking for a whole nother season how we managed to only get one more win than last year's team, how we managed to not get any further in the playoffs than last year's team, if in fact we do lose this week. So there's going to be it's going to be a long off season for a lot of different people if the Steelers go one and done this year. But again, as Jen said, the broken hand of McCormick. Yeah. I think again at this point in the season, it's just piling on, adding insult to the injury, because is it any surprise that something like this would happen? No, I don't think. I think the only thing that would be more, maybe something like our quarterback breaks his throwing hand or something. But
both of the top 2 both get hurt in the game.
Yeah,
and like in the first drive, that would be the Steelers' luck. But yeah, if McCormick can't go, Spencer Anderson's got to step up. He played a little bit earlier in the season too. Didn't look bad, didn't look out of place, but playoffs, I mean, it's a whole different animal for someone who's been sitting on the bench all year long to jump right in. That's going to be a tall ask if McCormick cannot go. I know, like Coach Tomlin said, they're looking to fit a brace on there to see if they can make it work for him to be able to play.
As I said, I think it's all mentality at this point. Heading into the playoffs, if you can't get your shit together, you're not going to do well. And it just really seems like we're trending the opposite direction. I hope I'm wrong, just by some things over the past few days that I'm reading. Some things I saw, obviously, from the game on Saturday night was not good. Let me get back on the board. Jen, yes, welcome back. Jen is back today. Nice seeing you, Jen. We missed you. Also, Mark Malone says we need a quarterback that can throw from the pocket. Absolutely. I mean, that's a given. And the fact that we are struggling to find that, I think, is one of the most basic needs that you have throughout the course of a game, is a guy that could stand in the pocket and throw. Our guy, it's just not happening right now. John says, without innovative coaches and a franchise quarterback, the team will stay in purgatory and the fans will suffer. I couldn't agree more. Especially with the franchise quarterback. That's been my my argument the whole time. Mark Malone also says we need to draft that running back out of Iowa. I'm not real familiar, Mike. You're Big Ten Iowa running back. Anything? Wears a nice uniform, I can tell you that.
He does wear a nice uniform. I can't remember his name right now. I know there's a couple good ones. You got the one from Arizona State, Skibadoo, a lot of talk about him. The guy from Iowa, his name is just completely. I have a whole computer here with a wealth of knowledge. If you give me 1 second, I will take a look. Who do we say? Running back Caleb Johnson. That's the guy. Yeah, he's a beast.
He's the guy out of Iowa.
Yeah. The 1,500 yards, 21 touchdowns up in the Big Ten. Hell yeah. Him, Judikins would be a good pick as well. Scatty Boo is dude from Arizona State. I think those guys would be really good picks too.
Yes. Well, everybody's welcoming Jen back. No problem, Jen. You are special. You come here and you shape the show in a way, and we certainly appreciate that. And welcome back. Mark Malone says I could see the Tomlinization of the team starting that with that second Cleveland game. Phil Steele says no ASU running back. You know what? I didn't even see the game, so I don't know much about him. I've heard a lot, and everything that I've heard about this guy from Arizona State was this guy is born to be a Steeler. Whatever that means, I don't know. But I've seen some pictures. I did not see him play. I apologize, but there's definitely something going on. A lot of people are mentioning that fella's name. Mark Malone says, dude has some Eric Dickerson to his game. Okay, we could use that. And John says, yeah, the hit the iceberg in Cleveland and have been taking on water since. Guys, a lot of people talk about the sixth seed in the playoffs. Of course, everyone knows that we did. We pulled it off back in 2005. We won the Super Bowl as the sixth seed. Here's just a couple from 2019, guys. The 6th seed Colts beat the 3rd seed Texans, and the 6th seed Eagles beat the 3rd seed Bears in the 2018-2019 playoffs. In the 2019 and 2020, the 6th seed Titans beat the 3rd seed Patriots. The 6th seed Vikings beat the 3rd seed Saints. And then in 2020 and 2021, 6th seed Rams beat the 3rd seed Seahawks, and the 6th seed Browns beat the 3rd seed Steelers. So it's not out of the question for a 6th seed team to upset a 3rd seed anymore in the NFL. It's certainly happened plenty of times just in the last couple seasons. And again, if you want to take that all the way back to 2005, when we had a much better team, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
With that team, but nonetheless, guys, there are a lot of 6 seeds that I'm seeing in this list since 2018, 2019 season. So again, here's the thing. I feel like we could win, but I feel like we could lose too. I don't want to say I feel like we're gonna win because I don't know if I feel that way, and I don't want to say I don't want to say we're gonna lose because I don't feel that way as well. I feel that we are totally capable, as we have done 8 of the last 10 times, of beating them. But which team shows up Saturday night? It's all between that 6 inches between your ears is what it's going to come down to Saturday night. Which team is prepared more? Which team is more mentally motivated? This is a game like if Ray Lewis would come out and yelled at his team for 20 minutes like he used to do, we'd probably get annihilated. It's at this point, I think this game is, you should many weeks ago have nailed down the basics, have nailed down the fundamentals. This comes down to going out, executing your game. This is the playoffs. You wait all season for this. I think this comes down to that 6 inches between your ears.
It does. And it's going to come down to your personality, your own temperament, your own motivation, your want and will to win. You're going to have to go out there and you're one of 11 guys out there, but still it's you battling the man across from you. You have to mentally want to beat him. You have to mentally believe you're better than him. And who's going to do that? Who's going to show up? We saw the defense rebound in this game. Now we need people on the offense to start doing the same thing. The defense, I have faith in them, which is weird because they were giving up a lot of points down the stretch, but the way they rebounded against one of the best offenses in the league, I like the way they locked it down after their first 2 drives. Now it's time for that offense to take a long, hard look in the mirror to see what kind of man you are, what kind of football player you are. You hear guys say that all the time. Like, we got to look in the mirror, and that's exactly what they have to do. And we're getting some pretty good help here. Zay Flowers has been rolled out with a knee injury.
Yeah, that certainly helps. Remember last game, we were just chasing these receivers all around the field. They have a nice balanced team. So you start playing the run, they pass. You start playing the pass, they run, and there's no two ways about it. We were chasing these receivers all around that field the last time we played. That has to change. Here's something a little bit of something for you, Tomlin haters. I don't want to say haters. Maybe people with the Tomlin supporters of putting Tomlin's head on a platter. How about we say that?
You have a future in politics, my friend.
You like this? All right, Joe Burrow has 5 playoff wins in the last 3 years. The Steelers have 0 playoff wins in the last 8. So there's that lowly Bengals team that we often make fun of, the Bungles. 5 playoff wins in the last 3 years. So we're due for a win. We need a win. We need a playoff win. Just maybe that's what you need to get that monkey off your back. You've seen it in sports many times. Getting that monkey off your back sometimes is one of the most difficult things to do. But once you do it, you scoot along and you continue. And that's really a lot of what this feels like is getting that monkey off our back. You get that one playoff win. Listen, I'm not saying we're going to win this one playoff game and then go to the Super Bowl and win.
No.
I'm not saying that. But you get that monkey off your back. Now, that's not the goal next year. You're not worried about winning your one playoff game. You're not worried about getting that first win after 8 years. You could then build off of that and then, possibly make a deeper run. But moving in the right direction, you got to get this win at some point. You got to.
You have to. You have to. Otherwise, it's just, what are we doing here? It's just. But this is the team. Like, Baltimore is beatable. We've seen Baltimore choke and collapse in the playoffs.
That's the only thing, Mike. That the chance that they choke, the reason. Listen, because they choke against the Steelers, and a lot of times that late turnover usually happens. Those are the three things that I would say go to the Steelers' advantage. Basically, it's dumb luck. When it comes down to it, if they come out and they execute their game plan, I don't think we're able to keep up with them. I say we keep it low, we keep it ugly, we keep it close, like an AFC North game usually is. This game stays close, and maybe we get the big bounce at the end of the game to go our way. Other than that, you can't let them dictate the game the way they did last time we played them.
Well, and you go back and rewatch the last game against the Ravens. The Steelers we were controlling the play. We were taking it to them until that Russ fumble when he had that big long scramble.
Yeah,
like that right there is when the game switched. Because they had a fumble early that they were able to recover. We fumbled there and they recovered, and that's when the game flipped. Pittsburgh was controlling that game. It wasn't. It was a close game. Then all of a sudden, you look at the score, and like it just got away from them. It's like it was tight, and then all of a sudden, the Ravens just ran away with it. But Steelers were controlling play in that game, so it can happen. They can win. That's why I'm still giving us about a 25, maybe 30% chance. And down in Baltimore, man, their fans are getting tired of Harbaugh and always losing in the playoffs, going in as one of the best teams in the league every year, having MVP candidates, MVP winners, and then losing. When they're like win one, and then the next game they're out, and their fans are getting tired of it too. So you have two coaches in here that both
maybe they can hire Arthur Smith as their head coach, Mike.
He seems to be the hot commodity right now. What the Jets?
The Jets and the Bears. The Jets and the Bears are interested in. Also, the Bears are interested
two stable franchises, by the way.
Also, the Bears are interested in Brian Flores as well. He is going to be a candidate after this season. Also, Mike, a couple things here. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 9.5-point dogs this week. Woo! 9.5 points. Again, I sometimes think that Vegas is a little too close. Yeah. So this kind of scares me as well, because last week with the 2.5 points we did take in the spread, we won by a half a point. Out of every possible score it could have been. Those 2.5 points were just enough to make us win 19.5 to 19. So do what you want with that. I don't trust Vegas, but listen, we are 9.5-point dogs. Mike, our referee crew for Wild Card Weekend, we have the Alex Kemp referee crew. Other referee crews from around the league, that Bill Vinovich, he's going to be his crew is going to be reffing the Buffalo Denver game. Also in the AFC, Land Clark, his crew will be officiating, the Houston and LA Charger game. Over in the NFC, Vikings and the Rams, is that John Hussey. We were just talking about him last week. I think he was our crew.
Yeah, that's the crew I want. I want that crew.
They don't throw any fouls, which what, Mike? You go back. I think there was only 5 penalties thrown all game. So
and Baltimore and Pittsburgh are there's a lot of penalties on these two teams. We had 102 this year. They have 130. They're the one of the most penalized teams. Somehow we're in the top 10 least penalized teams in the league. I don't know how that happened, but we got there, boys.
Brad Allen's crew, he'll be officiating the Eagles and Packers game, and then finally the Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They get Craig Worstad. So there's your crews, guys. Alex Kemp, I don't know what story I'm gonna have to look up, but there's a story that goes along with a lot of these crews.
Yeah,
some crews they flag more, some teams they flag a lot, some teams. So you're right, but Alex Kemp, if you do want to look at it on your own time, is the guy. And his officiating crew will be working the Steeler game on Saturday night. Hopefully that works to our advantage. Let's catch up on some of these messages, Mike. I'm going to start right here. John says, I must admit that I'm getting old and find the endless offseason discussions about what the Steelers should do or who they should draft without any real influence is a waste of time. Also, good morning to Yinzer Joe. Welcome back, my friend. Yo, Yinzers, good morning. Mark Malone says, man, I don't know if it's possible with Tomlin. P, what's up, my man? P says that Joe Burrow is in Cancun already. Let's see. John says the Steelers have 2% chance to win the Super Bowl. Yes, 2%.
Hey, if it's good enough for your milk, it's good enough for the Steelers.
Ain't that the truth? Let's see. Mark Malone says, what are the odds that we run Najee up the gut on the first play or the second play or the fourth down play or any other play?
That's a minus 10,000. That's you're not winning any money on that one.
And then finally, Yinzer Joe says, don't know if Vegas realizes that all stats are out the window when it comes down to the. You know what? I hope you're right. It's usually the case, Yinzer Joe. Usually, but again, that last game scared me. And at this point, it just feels like this is psychological. It's between the ears, this game. If you come out with the mental toughness, we're going to be able to hang in this game. If we came out like we did last week, I just don't see how we could beat anybody if we come out and play like we did last week. Anybody. That was one of the worst exhibitions of a Steeler game that I've seen in my life, maybe. Mike, they really looked like they hit a brick wall. And again, I hope that was because they knew the Ravens already won. They,
that's so not like
they have to look better than that.
It's human nature, and you know the outcome to where you're gonna go, what you're gonna go out and do. It has no effect on anything else, and you slip. But you're also a highly paid professional athlete. Go out there with some professional pride and do your job. We saw the defense do that. They started off a little slow, but they locked it up. The offense, not so much. And they had the chance to win that game, and a couple of their star guys are key players. Quarterback, running backs, and tight end couldn't do diddly poo when the bright shine the brightest.
Diddly poo.
You talking playoffs?
Talking about playoffs?
Diddly poo. It's still one of my all-time favorite fucking coaching rants.
I guess we could be. I mean, as he says, Burrow's probably in Cancun. Look at the Browns. They already fired Ken Dorsey. He's gone up there in Cleveland.
Ken Dorsey at one point was one of the hottest coaching candidates in the NFL.
Of course, the head coach up in New England, he's gone. So teams are already, they're already in their off-season mode. So guys,
Jags fired their head coach.
We're in it. We are the four. Listen, we're in it. But I think if I have this information, what's up?
I was going to say, are we in it to win it though?
Well, Mike, I have the rankings according to Bucky Brooks. This is the 14 teams that are in the playoffs ranked from 1 to 14. Okay.
Oh God.
The number 1 team is your Super Bowl champions, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Number 2, Detroit. 3, Buffalo. 4, Minnesota. 5, Baltimore. 6, Philadelphia. 7, Washington. So this is ranked 1 through 14, the best to the worst. That's your first 7. Second half of the list, Mike, these are your 7 not as good teams, if you will, in the playoffs this year. Number 8, the Chargers. Number 9, the Rams. 10, the Packers. 11, Tampa Bay. 12, Houston. 13, Denver. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have on this rankings of the 14 teams that are in the playoffs. This Pittsburgh Steelers, they have in dead last. Again, if they didn't come out and play that game and look the way they did this past weekend, I don't think that a lot of this stuff would be being said. I don't think a lot of these kind of, these calls like this would be being talked about. If you could have just lost those 3 games, the 3 really tough games and rebounded against Cincinnati, I think a lot more people would feel optimistic about this game coming up, Mike.
Oh, yeah. If the season ended 5 weeks ago,
right. We'd be one of
the top 5 teams, in that pool. And, we peaked early. Whereas a team like they, even though they did miss the playoffs, Cincinnati was peaking at the right time. But we were able to stack wins early, and we go limping in, and they were not. They go out roaring into Cancun.
Absolutely. On the board, John says I recommend that for marketing purposes. Derpy's aunt joins the show as a frequent quest. Also,
quest or guest?
I was going to say,
because guest. Okay, quest. I don't want to go down that road, but I do want to go down that road. Like what are the quests
She
with
could be
Derpy's?
hey, Peaches could be a guest or a quest. Don't you?
Now I'm just imagining all the quests that you have to complete with Peaches.
Yinzer Joe says Tomlin did say the strategy against the Bengals was to keep the ball on the ground and minimize the ball in Burrow's hands.
It almost worked until it didn't work.
John says the Steelers are either 13 or 14 on most lists, which I guess going by the last quarter of the season, how can they,
Yeah, you have to realistically put them there. But hey, you know what? They made it, man. They made it.
Joe Vlogs, I do want to say good morning to you, sir. Joe says Tomlin is gone unless he wins at least 2 games. And then also Mark Malone on the board says, no, the Rooney Roller is here to stay. So, I mean, depending on what happens this week, I think that the excuses will be aplenty. There's going to be the people that's ready to have Tomlin's head on a platter. There's going to be people that's ready to put Russell's head on a platter. There's going to be people, we need a win. We need to get that monkey off our back bad, Mike. I think that fixes a lot of things. Listen, I'm not saying that I'm content and the fans are going to be content with getting a win, but that's a start. You're not going to get any further if you don't start with a win. So, John says, my fat fingers and dirty mind. Yeah, no, guest I do believe is what he was trying to say.
I'm thinking he wants to go on some quest with Peaches.
Mike, couple things, quotes from around the league, or from around these two teams playing. Mike Tomlin says recent playoff failures are his bags to carry, not his sliding teams. Mike, I agree. He has to. We have to win a football game. We got to win a football game here, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. At first, I felt like people were piling on, but as time went on, I think there's sense being made on both sides. I really do. I think that the people that are still optimistic and the people that are pessimistic, they both have an argument at this point, Mike. I truly believe that, and it will be debatable and debated as time goes on. Also, the Ravens players troll soft Steelers wide receiver George Pickens while sampling Lamar Jackson cologne. I guess they had to get together and they were all sampling this cologne by Lamar Jackson, and they were trolling George Pickens and saying that he was soft.
Yeah, they're like, "Ooh, this smells soft," like George Pickens.
Yes, that was exactly it.
So, well, yeah, George is a head case. I don't know if he's soft.
Yeah, I don't know if he's soft.
He wants to fight everyone.
Yeah. I want to just let the guy fight somebody, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he wants to fight our own fans. I love the passion, George, but you might want to channel that into catching a fucking football and then running someone over.
That would be great. Absolutely. And finally, Ray Fittipaldo from right here in Pittsburgh. A nice guy, one of the good media people, I do say that, says that the players are frustrated and not believing in the game plans. So whatever it is that's going on, guys, you got 3.5 days to figure this out. And again, Mike, you got to keep it low. You got to keep it ugly. You got to keep it close. You got to keep it an AFC North football game. If you let it get out of hand the way that it did, you let them impose their will, and you can't do anything. And if you fall into that, and then you're talking comeback, and then you're talking, well, you're taking the run game out because now you have to pass, and we're having a hard time passing, and you just fall into a whole bunch of problems from the get go. This has to be a Steeler Ravens game. Anything besides that, I think we don't stand a chance, Mike. And when we play that kind of game, what's going to happen is that's going to give us an opportunity in the fourth quarter, as it has many times, for the Steelers to make a big play, make something happen when it counts, make a big stop, as we've done many times against the Ravens. This has to be an AFC North kind of game. If not, I don't think we win.
Yeah, and I know I like their idea of you want to keep the ball away from Lamar. You want to keep the ball away from Joe Burrow. That's a smart strategy, because you watch these teams that try and get into track meets with these high-scoring offenses. What happens? They tend to lose against these teams. So what Pittsburgh can do, and what they should do, is what we were doing earlier in the season, using those short to intermediate passes. When's the last time we saw a little out route to anyone? I was going to say to Darnell Washington in particular. It's been forever since we've seen that play. That no one has been able to stop that play. Go back to it. Those little passes to the running back right in the middle of the field. 4 or 5 games ago, we were running that play over and over and over because no one was able to stop it. And we were moving the ball down the field, killing time, giving the defense rest. throwing the other team off rhythm who wanted to play quick strike football and couldn't because we were controlling the clock that way. You don't just need to go in there and run the ball. Those little plays were opening up the run game, and they need to get back into that instead of just trying to run into a brick wall. Use the short to intermediate passing game, and then that's going to open up that moon ball that you only have, once, like you said, you hit that once, twice in a game, that opens up that defense even more. And the next thing you know, you're hitting those long seam routes down the middle too. For Armuth, you're hitting them to Calvin Austin. So they need to get back to that type of football, but they just want to run the ball instead of using that short to intermediate pass game as an extension of the run game. So they were doing effectively weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no two ways about it, man. It really feels like the offense surely got simplified last week. It felt similar to
the last 4 games. It feels so simplified.
Compared, I would compare it something to how I felt when Matt Canada was in, and you're just sitting there watching this offensive game plan play out, and you're like, what is he doing? He can't possibly think this is going to work. So there's gotta be work done this week. If there's not work and changes, it's not going to happen, guys. But you know what, the guys are down at the facility. Let's hope that they get it together. Let me jump on the board here, Mike. I'm going to start right here with Yinzer Joe. Yinzer Joe says Tallman isn't gone. He signed an extension and has a no trade clause in his contract. And you know what, Joe? That's one thing that I've been hearing a lot popping up between fans is that trade. Is Tallman going to get traded? I can't imagine Mike Tallman getting traded. If anything, also Mark Malone says, yeah, we need to get that monkey off our back for sure. It's a huge monkey. It's a gorilla. We have a gorilla on our back. P says Doug Peterson is available. He sure is. John says the main excuse out there is they exceeded the 8-9 forecast. John also says GP is a Hanson brother in disguise. Yinzer Joe says, I think Tomlin needs to hire Big Ben as an offensive situational advisor, especially for management on 4th down plays. You know what, his calling his own plays, I was never too upset. Ben was really good at that. John also says here, the one advantage they have is the Lamar postseason choke factor.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I forgot about it.
They could get a lead and get in his head. Playoff Lamar just might show up, Mike. And also that Lamar, he puts the ball on the ground quite often. So I'm saying we got to keep this game ugly. It's got to stay ugly. It's got to stay ugly.
And that's down the stretch, man. That turnover differential flipped on the Steelers big time. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but my God, the bounces have not been going the Steelers' way. Where early in the season, man, those fumbles, the defense was there, Johnny on the spot. Down the stretch, man, it's been like we force a turnover, and next thing you know, there's like 5 offensive guys just standing there and 1 or 2 defenders, and that has to change, man. The defense is no longer swarming to the ball. This last game they held them to like 19 points, but guys weren't swarming to the ball like we were earlier in the season to capitalize on the loose balls.
We look like we hit a sophomore. When guys get into college,
the rookie wall,
and you hit that rookie wall. That's what it feels like. Those guys, they just, like I said last week, they're chasing these guys around in the defensive backfield. Which again, you're not going to be chasing around Chase and Higgins and these guys this week. It's a different crew. And like you said, what was going on with Flowers? He's out.
Yeah, he's out.
I mean, that's big in their pass game, Mike.
That's huge. Yeah, because that guy is so quick, so shifty, and then now he was taking a lot of attention away from Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely.
And they're opening up the field for the run game.
Yeah, and it's opening up field for the run game, opening up field for Rashad Bateman, who's having a career resurgence this year. So now you take Zay out of the offense. Okay, he's your speedster. He's the guy that they would always send in motion to try and confuse the defense. Now he's out. I want to see how that changes their offense.
Mike, a couple accolades here. Chris Boswell became the first Steeler to finish as the NFL's leading scorer, doing great this year. I got to be honest. I know that he kicked a lot of field goals, but did it really feel excessive to the point where it was more than than any kicker? It felt to me like Jeff Reed was always out there kicking field goals, saving the day. Norm Johnson back in the 90s. It didn't feel that it was, to me personally, that he was out there enough to score that many points, to be on top of the scoring list.
That's because we had those 2 games where he was like 6 for 6 in both those games.
Yeah.
And those two kind of skewed it, but like down the stretch, man, we haven't seen a lot of Boz.
No,
So,
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, like even when he was kicking all those field goals, it didn't feel like it. Now that I think about it, it didn't feel like it. He was, out there as much as he was.
Enough to lead the league in scoring.
Yeah,
that's insane to me. That's also, Mike. This is one. Make this make sense.
Okay.
Now I know. Listen. Now bear with me, guys.
Oh God.
Well, this PFF. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but they graded TJ Watt, who I love. Listen, don't get me wrong. Don't let the debates on the show fool you. They graded TJ Watt a 91.4, and which is the best run defender in the league, is what they're saying. Mike, and I don't want to listen, I'm not starting a debate on Watt here. He had 3 tackles in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he takes himself out of the play on the run by running upfield to try to get that step on rushing the quarterback if they're passing. I'm like, explain to me, if you can, how TJ Watt sits as the best run defender in the league with a 91.4 according to PFF. I think, don't get me wrong, listen, he is our all-pro. I love Watt, but this, Mike, he's the best run defender in the league.
To me that's a bit high, but he does have those plays where he blows up the play in the backfield.
No two ways about it.
He'll be over there. He's had a lot of key punch outs and stuff like that. And two, like I saw the stat a couple weeks ago. I forgot to bring it up on the show and I forgot to save it, where the percentage of times that teams run to his side, and it's the lowest in the NFL by a wide margin. Teams don't run to his side, and then you factor in how many forced fumbles he has had alone on that side of the field, it's off the chart. So I can see why he's graded that way. And like Derek Moore even said, that's not, his forte. His forte is to kill the quarterback. So when you get him out of the run game, that's just something extra right there. But, like I said, man, he did have a lot of plays this year where he was in the backfield blowing the play up. He's not that guy who's going to set the edge for you consistently, because that's not his job. A 91 run stuffing, no. I'd say mid 80s.
Mike, it's the best in the league, they're saying.
Yeah, I don't see that.
That's where I have.
That's where I have. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to listen. He's very athletic and he can do a lot of things and he gets a lot of things done. And I'm very thankful.
Being a run stuffer is not his thing.
But to say that he's the best run stuffer in the league,
that's a bridge too far. That's a bridge.
To me, that speaks volumes about the PFF.
Yeah.
Just like Jen just said, PFF giving a Steeler player a good rating is like the sky falling.
It actually is. So that's why I'm not trying to harp on it too much, man. I'll take it. If PFF says anything good about the Steelers, you have to be doing something right.
Mike, Justin Fields, does he play this week?
No. He hasn't all year. After Russ got healthy, except for a handful of snaps here and there. I don't see it. I don't, unless it's a dire situation and we need a gadget play.
Mike, what do we lose by putting Justin Fields in compared to what we've seen last 4 games?
Russ is safe with the football. He's a lot safer in his career wise than Fields is. Russ, I know we all harp on him for throwing the ball away, but he's very sound securing the ball. Justin in his career has not been, with the interceptions. So that right there, there's high risk, but there's also high reward with him too. But at this point in the game, you don't go to your number 2 quarterback going into the playoffs. To me, that would be raising the white flag right there.
Okay. Let me see. Let's go back here. John says Canada had 1 game.
Yeah, this stat right here.
Hold on. Canada had 1 game under 200 total yards. Smith has 2 and counting.
Yeah.
Under 200. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
John also says modern day football has chefs for coaches and the Steelers have hot dog vendors.
Well, it's like we're not going to get better assistant coordinators because like Mark Bully, he said this a couple of years ago. Like Rooney, he has a value for offensive defensive coordinators of what they should be paid, and he doesn't want to pay any higher than that.
Yinzer Joe said, "Is Jackson going to play, or is our third string Trice going to have to keep up with their speedster Bateman?" Also, John says, "Ben respected Dobbs' brain and would always talk with him on the sideline with the pad in hand. Bring Dobbs back as the OC. He is the brain. I think he's still playing somewhere. And
Yeah,
like
he's San Francisco. Yeah, he played their last game there. Yeah.
Dobbs could be the Steelers, Zach or guys. Let's go over to the schedule that was released the other day, which is very easy to figure out every year. But once they do put it out, I do like to go over it, guys. Our home games include both, of course, the home and road games include the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns. That's 6 games right off the top. The remaining games, guys, are home against the Buffalo Bills. We'll be home against Miami Dolphins. We'll be home against the Colts. We'll be home against the Packers, home against the Vikings, and home against Seattle, which, Mike, that's a handful of tough games right there. We'll get back to that in a second. And then on the road, including their 3 division games, they also have the Patriots on the road, the Jets on the road, the Bears on the road, the Chargers, and then the Lions on the road, which is a little bit more forgiving with the Patriots, the Bears, and the Jets in that as part of the schedule, Mike. But over at them home games, the Colts, they beat us one time in the last 2 years. They beat us this year. They beat us last year.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills, of course, could very well be the Super Bowl champion this season. Minnesota could make a good run for it. Green Bay, if they weren't in that division, would probably be a division leader. And Seattle, who finished strong. And, so, Mike, this is a tough schedule. You talked about this year.
Yeah.
The way that it was built and it came down to those 3 games at one time was what made this year's schedule so tough. This season coming up, 2025, that's a handful of tough games. It really is, with the exception of maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Miami, New England, the Jets, and the Bears are the 4 games that you wouldn't say would be the tougher games. But every game else every other game on that list, Mike, is playoff teams.
Yeah. And you know what?
And 2 of them could very well be playing each other in the Super Bowl this year.
I was going to say,
Lions and the Bills.
Yeah, you can have a Super Bowl matchup that we have to go up against. But you know what? Every year, right now, at this time of the year, you're looking at the schedule like, oh my God, this is who we're going to have to play. It's going to be impossible. But then you see, roster overturns so much due to free agency and due to coaching changes. So, you never, like, some of these teams are like, oh my God, this can be a tough team to follow or tough team to play. And then the next year they can come out and lay an egg, have like a Super Bowl hangover, have a hangover from, a poor playoff performance. So right now it looks tough, but there's still the entire off season to go before you finally start to figure out, okay, what's their roster going to look like? What's our roster going to look like? When in the year are we going to play them too?
On the board, Yinzer Joe says, pretty sure. Yeah, I think Dobbs is out in San Fran. I seen him earlier this season at one point. John says Mike Tomlin has enough clout to force Art to open the wallet. I would walk to another team with a blank check before allowing the owner to handcuff me and ruin my reputation. No, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And also Jen says PFF equals pretty effing funny. You know what? That's usually the case.
That usually is, yeah.
Not many times I look at a PFF post and think, wow, that makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean? It's usually, what?
Yeah, that's the organization that's saying against the Eagles, Lane Johnson gave up a sack from TJ Watt. You blew right by him, got the sack, and they're saying, nope, Lane Johnson did not give up a sack to TJ Watt. He had 0 sacks given up all year. On film, it's there. You even have the tackle going, I don't know what to do, coach. I can't stop the guy.
Mike, I'm going to. Yeah, good. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say, to me, it's a joke. Like, some of their advanced analytic stats that they track are good, but when it comes down to performance grades, I don't trust them.
I think they're on acid.
Probably.
That would be the only thing that makes sense for a lot of things that I see that they put up.
Yeah, probably.
LSD.
If they're sharing, send it over to the2dumyinzers.com.
Mike, let's move forward. We are getting to that point in the show. The college football playoffs, guys, only 2 days away. Thursday night at 7:30, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish take on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Big game for Mike, of course, the big Penn State guy on the show. And for Derek Moy's sake, you know what? I'll root for Penn State as well. but not for Mike, because if it was for Mike's sake, then it would.
That's fair enough. You know what? I can respect that.
That game's 7:30 on Thursday, and then to see who the winner of those two teams will play in the national championship, I think on the 20th or something like this. Mike, the second game of the weekend will be Friday. That's going to be between Ohio State and Texas. The Buckeyes and the Longhorns. That game is 7:30. That will decide the other team. So Friday night around 11 o'clock, we're basically going to know our Final Four. We'll know who's going to be playing in the national championship on Monday, January 20th. Guys, so that's getting down to it. That's a lot of fun, Mike. I'm enjoying this 12-game system in the new college football playoffs.
Me too. I'm liking it. It's fun. More teams in the playoff. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
No one bitches about the 64 teams in basketball, but the minute football went to 12, I was like, oh no, this
is what else, Mike?
Curse upon the sport.
Some teams that you would never see in it were playing in the playoffs this year. I like that.
Me too. And it gives more teams a chance to get on a hot streak and run the table. I like that. I like the underdogs when they come in and win.
College football is kind of designed a certain way, and it doesn't so when you get those underdog teams in there, I like it.
Dude, you get the portal going in, the NIL money, a lot of different teams should be coming into the playoffs every year.
Yeah. The Panthers basketball team back in action tonight as they travel to Duke to play the Duke Blue Devils tonight at 7 p.m. on the hardwood. Also, if you want to catch the Penguins on ice, they are also back at it tonight when they host the Columbus Blue Jackets. That game's at 7. The Penguins, Mike, are 17-17-7. 17-17-7, and the Columbus Blue Jackets are 17-17-6.
Ooh,
so two pretty evenly matched teams to this point.
That's two elite franchises right there.
It is. Mike, also the picks, it came down to the picks this week. We usually go over to today, but Derpy has whatever he has going on with his throat. There was a tie. It came down to a tie. It came down to the tiebreaker. He's both overshot on the tiebreaker. So tomorrow when Derpy comes, or on Thursday to do the new picks, the way we'll decide it quickly. It'll be done quick. We'll take a coin. We'll flip it. Wherever it lands, that's the winner. We could have done more with it, but it's kind of getting pressed into the next week with, the way things are going. So that's the way we're going to handle that on Thursday. We will flip the coin to see who this week's winner is. Mike, you have just as much as Derpy, much as good a chance as Derpy does to win it. So let's hope that you can get back in it, Mike. I think you got to win a lot from here on out.
I'm running the table, boys. I'm running the table.
But you are running the table, Mike. Why don't you run the website and tell us a little bit about it?
The2dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone. We got the merch store over there. We got the blog, which should be coming back soon, hopefully. And then, all the links to all the social media. Check it out, the2dumyinzers.com.
Go check it out, everybody. www.the2dumyinzers.com. All right, how well do we know our enemy, guys? This is another Ravens trivia question. Mike, put on your thinking cap. Everybody at home, guys on the board. This is the trivia question of the day. In the Ravens team history, they've played 11 wild card games. How many of those 11 wild card games that the Ravens played did they win? Let me read it again. In Ravens team history, they've played 11 wild card games. How many of those 11 wild card games did they win? Take a minute to think that over. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day right here on YouTube. All right, guys. On the board, if anybody has any guesses, take a shot here. The question is, in Ravens team history, they've played 11 wild card playoff games. How many of those 11 wild card playoff games did the Ravens win? Phil is still with the correct answer on the board.
I'm not going to look.
Well, you can. It says IDGAF.
Oh, okay. I didn't have it up in case someone's putting answers in there.
P has an answer. Okay, yeah, we do have some answers up here, Mike, so totally up to you. You can look if you want. But question of the day. In Ravens team history, they played 11 wild card games. How many of those 11 wild card playoff games did the Ravens win? You have any guesses?
I'm going to go with 5.
5 playoff wins out of 11. Yeah. Okay. Is this your final answer?
Final answer.
All right, guys. Got you locked in. Question of the day. In Ravens team history, they've played 11 wild card games. How many of those 11 wild card games did the Ravens win? On the board, John says the Ravens won four of the 11 wild card games that they played in team history. P says 7. He says they won 7 of those 11 games. Mike said 5. 5 games out of those 11 that the Ravens won. Question of the day. In Ravens team history, they've played 11 wild card games. How many of those 11 did they win? Mike said 5. The answer, of course, is 8.
Oh.
The Ravens won 8 of their 11 wild card games in team history. They are 8-3. So
interesting.
John says the Lions have the O line. Nope, I lost it. There we go. John said the Lions have the O line and the running back to play smash mouth running O. The Steelers don't, but wouldn't adjust all season. You know what? That Lions team is built out of every good thing the Steelers have ever done. If you look at that, they are built like a really good Steelers team. I'm watching that team the other day. I'm thinking the way they run, the defense. I think that Jared Goff is kind of overrated. It just reminds me of a Steeler team from the past. Very, very. I think they're built just like the Steelers. Also, let's see what we got here. John says, "I'm looking through my Terry Bongshaw smoke for the right answer."
Oh, Terry Bongshaw.
P says, "Just guessing. Won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer, though, for F's sake."
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Trent flippin' Dilfer. Well, we have what arguably the greatest defense of all time.
Yeah.
And going up against, the Carolina Panthers.
Look at their Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco.
Right? You got a guy who's probably going to win his 3rd MVP and they can't get out of the 2nd round.
Yeah.
Like, don't the Ravens around, like, real quick for hockey, don't they feel like the early Ovechkin years? Ovechkin was a great player, couldn't get past the 2nd round. Ravens, all the hype, just like the Capitals, can't get past the 2nd round.
And then you just kind of have a feeling they're going to do it one day.
And
you know what I mean?
And they're never going to go back again.
Yeah. I feel you on that.
That's how this Lamar Jackson-led Ravens team feel like. They feel like the Ovechkin era Capitals.
And you know what? I don't think that's by any accident, John. They really rode the coattails. I mean, we have friends that do show. We have a friend who does a streaming show up in Michigan. Big Lions fan, but all the years that the Lions stunk, he was a big Steeler fan, and he says a lot of people up there are. He says that kind of became like their adopted team. It's a similar city with the the similar economy and the steel mills and everything else that we had. So it seems to me that a lot of people in Detroit kind of took the Steelers. So it doesn't surprise me that team is built. That's that's what people from Detroit wanted when we went up there and won Super Bowl 40 at Ford Field. The Detroit people really made it feel like it was a home game for the Steelers. So not surprised to me that's their style, and that's what's getting them, giving them success. So good for them. I hope one day soon be us again, but you got to like what they're doing up there, Mike. Here we are starting the playoffs, Mike. Who's your 2 Super Bowl teams and who wins?
Oh, Kansas City against the Philadelphia Eagles for a rematch that Kansas City wins again.
I take Buffalo and Detroit. It's going to be a rematch. Remember, it was like 48-42 or something like that when they played each other. Which one of these 2 teams get their first Super Bowl win? Which one of these 2 teams, Buffalo or Detroit? I'm going to say Detroit beats Buffalo in the Super Bowl this year. They become that team. They become the sweetheart. Everybody's going to kind of fall in love with this Detroit team the same way they did with the Seattle Seahawks when they started winning, the same way that Tampa Bay did briefly, the same way that all these teams do for just a season or 2. But I think maybe, just maybe, Mike, Detroit might be due.
Good for them, I guess.
Yeah. It does nothing for me.
Nothing for me. Their team before they beat Minnesota. It's not fair that a team has this many wins has to go on the road. Yeah. Now that they won the game and oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They're grating my nerves. They're getting on my nerves. Detroit is.
Yinzer just as I truly believe it's hard for the rookies. Jones on the front line to start, protect, and creates holes that the running back needs, which is why Russell. I mean, don't get me wrong. The offensive line plays a lot into all. The offense is a disaster. It really is a disaster, guys. John says the Lions color. I like that with the blue helmets they got.
I like that one.
I don't hate it. Phil still says KC with the three-peat, which is a very, very good possibility. No two ways about that. Mike, about yourself, anything before we start getting ready to wrap up for today, man?
Nothing about me, but I was going to say, like, my big worry this weekend, what's going to happen to Derpy if the Steelers and Ohio State lose?
He might implode.
Within 2 days apart. I'm worried about the little fella. What's going to happen if those two teams lose?
Because he gets awfully what's he get? He gets real negative on game
day. Like Ohio State gives up one touchdown after they're up 21-0. There's it's over. There goes the game.
This coach is terrible. We always lose this. We always lose these games. I mean, the list of things that he texts during the course of a game, like that should be a show one day.
Like when the Steelers were winning all those games, we would give up a first down. Game's over. Derpy, it's the first quarter of the second drive of the game, bro.
We literally just did that to him not too long ago. We're like, Derpy, it's literally the first drive of the game. We have the rest of the game. But,
well, it's like when Ohio State was running up Oregon and like Oregon scored a touchdown to make it 21-7. Like Derpy come back on. He's like, it's over. And we haven't heard from him since.
He'll be here soon. He'll be back. He was supposed to come today. Last minute, he still wasn't feeling that great again. All the throats. People have this throat thing right now. I don't know if this is everywhere or what, but certainly hitting a lot of people in our area.
And people look, Derpy. They missed the boom.
Boom!
The crying face got me. I'm done.
John said the team that loses between Buffalo and Detroit in a Super Bowl would need the National Guard called. Yeah, no two ways about it.
Oh my God! Imagine like Bill's Mafia flipping out after a Super Bowl loss. Oh my God!
I think that's about it for me, Mike. Unless you have anything else here, brother.
I got nothing else, man.
I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out and checking us out today. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you. We really, really do. We wouldn't do it without you. We want to say thank you so much. Also, I want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show. Everybody at home, thank you so much. Again, we'll be back tomorrow, and then I think Thursday will be Derpy Day. Finch was supposed to be in today as well. It's supposed to be Finch and Derpy in today. The guys, Phil, let me get to that in one sec. The guys were supposed to be in today. Everybody woke up. They had no voices, so that's kind of where we are at the time. We'll be back tomorrow. Again, Thursday, Derpy will be back for picks, and certainly we'll be back at the end of the week as well, providing everything goes well with their health. Phil still says, cheers to Dum Yinzers. Y'all didn't grade the offense, defense. You know what? I didn't. We did the game ball yesterday, and I only wanted to do that. It was more of a kind of a joke, but no, I entirely, for the first time all season, we skipped the offense and defense and coaches grading because it was not good. I asked Mike yesterday, is there a general grade that you want to give for the overall? And
I just gave everyone an F.
It was an F. So
it's like when that teacher comes in and is pissed off at everyone, you just automatically fail.
Yeah.
Whether you got it right or not, you're done.
So we did it. It was short and sweet yesterday.
Yeah.
P says losing the Super Bowl is absolutely. They've never done anything other than that. So if they could go in, if they lose 5, that'd be something. I don't think anybody's ever been 0-5.
I would probably root for Detroit just to watch that happen.
How about a Minnesota Buffalo, because they're both 0-4.
Oh, there we go. Now we're cooking, boys.
One of those teams would have to be 0-5 after that Super Bowl, and the other one would get their first win. I think that would be fun.
I would be a big time Sam Darnold fan if he would deliver Buffalo their 5th Super Bowl loss.
Could be interesting. Guys.
There's just something about the Buffalo Bills that just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, you've been saying that.
And Buffalo and Detroit, for some odd reason, I don't know why.
But we do have a lot of stuff coming up the rest of the week, guys, and heading into the new year. So keep sticking around. We have a lot of cool things, actually. We had meetings over the weekend for things that's coming up here because, again, football season, it comes to an end, and there'll be a lot of fun stuff because the show does go 365 days a year. It's year-round, guys, so keep tuning in. But all the way up until the Super Bowl, there's no two ways about it. We covered the NFL. Mike, again, the Steeler team, you're down to your last chance. Backs against the wall, not looking good. As John said earlier on the show, 2% chance of winning the Super Bowl. Not a lot of things looking good. You finished the season 0-4, a 4-game losing streak. But Mike, we are Steeler fans, so at the end of the day, at least until the whistle blows, we hope that this team will win. We will root for this team to win, and we will do everything we can to make it fun along the way. So again, everybody, thank you for coming and hanging out. We appreciate every one of you. For Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, for myself, the two Dum Yinzers, have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.